Have you ever felt that the moment you open your eyes in the morning, your mind is already swept away by the noise of the world? The sound of message notifications, the phone ringing. The endless stream of news waiting for you like a relentless wave. You read one headline, then watch one video, then scroll for something you can't even name. Day after day. Your mind grows weary from having to reply, to prove, to explain. You're afraid of falling behind, afraid of being forgotten, afraid that without constant noise, you might disappear. And so, you lose the most precious moment, the silence within. In today's noisy world, silence is not easy. Silence isn't just about turning off the TV or putting your phone in a drawer. True silence is learning to pause and turn inward, to listen to your breath, to feel your heart beating quietly, faithfully keeping you alive. The Buddha taught, only in silence does true wisdom appear. Because only when the noise stops can we stop being pulled by countless thoughts and endless inner debates. We no longer need to prove ourselves to anyone, not even to ourselves. Try this, sit down for just 1 minute. No phone, no computer, nothing to do. Just sit with your back straight, close your eyes. And breathe. Let each breath in and out be like a gentle stream flowing through your tired soul. You'll notice that behind all the noise, behind all the worries, there's a space of stillness no one can disturb. That is where true freedom lives. Many think that silence is weakness. But in truth, silence is strength. Only those who are steady and rooted can sit still in the midst of the storm. Only those who are patient enough can stay silent when attacked or misunderstood. And only those who are compassionate enough can hear, within silence, the countless voices of life, of people, of the vast universe itself. The Buddha taught that a single word can bring peace. But sometimes, a moment of silence can heal deeper than 1,000 explanations. In meditation practice, practitioners are encouraged to keep their body, speech, and mind in stillness. When the mouth is silent, the body is calm, and the mind can finally see itself clearly. Anger, jealousy, and anxiety, when watched in stillness, dissolve like foam on a quiet lake. Silence is not an escape from life. Silence is how we care for our inner life so that when we step back into the world, we can speak truthfully, act meaningfully, and live freely. Each mindful breath is a seed of silence. Each step of walking meditation is a step home. Each gentle recitation of the Buddha's name is like a boat carrying us across the ocean of suffering. You can begin right now. When you finish reading this, don't rush to scroll down, don't check your messages just yet. Sit for a moment, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and gently recite Namo Amitabha Buddha. Let this simple chant ring softly from your heart, clearing away your worries and reminding you that peace is never found in what you own, but in what you release. In how deeply you can be still. If you feel these words touch something true within you, give yourself permission to return to this precious silence every day. And don't forget to subscribe to the Dharma Journey, so we can keep exploring Buddhist wisdom, meditation practice, and the art of living mindfully, together. Namo Amitabha Buddha. May you have a peaceful day in silence. Most of us are not familiar with true silence. Not the kind of silence you get when you turn off the TV for a while or put your phone on silent mode. But the kind of deep, penetrating stillness that begins when all the outer noise fades and you have no choice but to face what is inside you. Because when the noise stops, when there's no music in your ears, no messages to reply to, no voices to fill the space, you begin to see yourself more clearly than you might be ready for. Suddenly, the mind no longer has a place to hide. The worries you pushed aside resurface. The loneliness you've been trying to cover with busyness shows its true shape. Old memories crawl out of the shadows. Doubts, fears, questions with no easy answers. This is why so many people are terrified of silence, even if they don't realize it. We say we want peace. But peace is not just pretty sunsets and gentle thoughts, it is also the courage to sit with everything we've been avoiding. Silence is like a mirror, it shows us our true face. Without filters or distractions. And that can feel unbearable at first. So instead of facing that mirror, we reach for something, anything, that can drown out the discomfort. We turn on a podcast while we eat, scroll through social media while we stand in line, binge a show until we fall asleep. We keep filling the gaps so that the voice inside never gets too loud. But the truth is, it never really goes away. It just waits, patiently, for the moment when the noise runs out. If you have ever sat in a quiet room, alone with your thoughts, you know how restless the mind can be. It jumps from worry to regret, from planning to replaying old conversations. One moment you're reliving something that hurt you years ago, the next, you're rehearsing what you'll say tomorrow. This is the mind's way of protecting itself from the rawness of simply being here, with nothing to hold on to. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us something precious. If you can stay with this silence, if you can breathe through the restlessness instead of reaching for the next distraction, something changes. The fears and doubts do not disappear right away, but they begin to soften. You start to see that they are not solid walls, but passing clouds. Thoughts come and go. Emotions rise and fall. And beneath it all, there is a part of you that simply watches, that remains untouched. This watcher, the quiet awareness beneath the noise, is not afraid of silence. In fact, it lives in silence. When you touch it, even for a moment, you see that the silence you feared is not empty. It is full of life, full of clarity, full of freedom. Silence does not mean cutting yourself off from the world. It means meeting the world from a place of steadiness. It means speaking less, but listening more deeply. It means knowing when words are needed and when they are not. Some truths do not need to be explained, they reveal themselves when you become quiet enough to feel them. In daily life, silence is not just about meditation on a cushion. It can be a few mindful breaths before you answer the phone. It can be the choice to walk without headphones for once. Letting the world around you speak its own language. It can be sitting in your room at night, lights off, just listening to the sound of your own breathing. At first, this silence might feel uncomfortable. The mind will protest, shouldn't I be doing something? What if I'm missing out? But if you can stay, if you can let the discomfort unfold without running from it, you will discover something unexpected. The silence becomes a friend. A refuge. A place you can return to whenever the noise of the world becomes too much. In that silence, you may discover that the emptiness you feared is not emptiness at all, but space, vast. Open space where you can breathe again. Where you can set down the burden of always having to perform, to respond, to prove. In silence, you remember that you are more than your thoughts. Your worries, your roles. You are the stillness that holds them all. And so, next time you feel the urge to fill every gap with noise, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what am I trying not to feel? If you have the courage to stay with the question, without immediately looking for an answer, something softens. You realize you are strong enough to face your own mind. You don't have to run from yourself anymore. Little by little, you see that silence is not an enemy but a doorway. A doorway to a life where you can live more lightly, speak more truthfully. And listen, truly listen, not just to others but to the quiet wisdom that has always lived inside you, waiting for you to come home. Silence in Buddhism is not just about not speaking. It is not about forcing yourself to suppress words or cutting off connection with others. True silence, as the Buddha taught, is a deep state of mindful awareness, a space where words are carefully held back to make room for listening, observing, and understanding. In daily life, many people see silence as weakness, a lack of courage, an avoidance of what needs to be faced. But through the lens of Buddhist wisdom, silence is the root of peace and the doorway to insight. When we hold our words, we stop adding more confusion, more conflict, more unnecessary energy into the world. Outer silence is the first step towards stopping needless actions and protecting the precious energy within us. But outer silence alone is not enough. You can sit still without saying a word. But inside, your mind can still be a river of noise, resentments, arguments, judgments, plans, regrets, playing on repeat. This is why inner silence is where true practice begins. It is the ability to observe your own mind without interfering, without judging, without rushing to label anything as good or bad. The Buddha said, "If your words do not bring peace and understanding, it is better to remain silent." This teaching is not just a reminder to think before speaking. It is a deep lesson that every word we release plants a seed in the mind of the listener and in our own hearts. If that seed does not grow peace or understanding, then silence itself is more nourishing and far more powerful. In the ancient Buddhist texts, there are many stories of monks and nuns who lived deep in the forest for years without uttering a word to anyone. They did not do this to escape life, but to listen to the deepest voice within. When the noise of idle talk disappears, they could hear the sound of the wind, the rustle of leaves, the footsteps of forest animals, each sound becoming a living teaching about impermanence, interconnection, and the nature of letting go. For those of us living in the modern world, we cannot keep total silence like the forest monks. But we can still cultivate silence as a practice. Pausing before we speak, listening fully when someone else is sharing, and especially noticing the endless stream of thoughts inside our minds. You may be surprised to realize how often the urge to speak comes from the need to protect our ego, prove we are right, or cover up the quiet fear of emptiness inside. When we see this clearly, we begin to choose our words with care. One gentle sentence can comfort a hurting heart. One harsh sentence can push someone to despair. And sometimes, saying nothing at all can create the safe space another person needs to heal in their own time. Many of us have looked back and thought, if only I had stayed silent then. If only I had listened more deeply. So when you understand silence as a material of mindfulness, you hold it like a precious gift. Outer silence helps us conserve our energy and protect our kindness. Inner silence helps us see the roots of our mental noise and the seeds of our suffering. When these two come together, we naturally become someone who knows how to listen to ourselves and to life itself. In this silent space, old wounds are soothed, the storms in the mind slowly settle. Like a lake becoming still again after a long rain. Many great teachers have said, words can teach you part of the truth, but it is silence that will show you the rest. Words belong to concepts. Silence opens the door to direct experience. Sitting near someone who understands true silence, you can feel the calm energy they radiate without needing to say much at all. Just their presence is enough to help you see yourself more clearly. In this noisy world, try to protect a small island of silence for yourself. A morning when you do not check your phone the moment you wake up. An evening when you switch off all devices before bed and just sit quietly with your own breath. A moment when you simply watch your thoughts pass through, without chasing them or pushing them away. Little by little, silence stops feeling threatening and starts feeling like a friend, an old companion who reminds you of the heart of mindfulness, returning to this moment, returning to yourself. In silence, we lose the urge to show off or to defend. In silence, the deepest answers arrive without words. The world's noise softens, and the inner voice grows clearer. And we discover a beautiful truth. Strength does not come from always speaking up. Sometimes, real strength is knowing exactly when to be silent, and finding, within that quiet, the calm mind and wise heart that can finally touch true freedom. When you truly practice silence, something quietly miraculous begins to happen. It doesn't happen all at once. And it doesn't need dramatic rituals or special conditions. It unfolds naturally, like the surface of a muddy pond slowly clearing after the wind stops blowing. The mind starts to settle. Thoughts that usually swirl around endlessly begin to soften. Restless emotions that used to push you in all directions find space to breathe and calm themselves. And underneath all the noise, you begin to hear the most honest voice of all, the voice that comes from the deepest part of your heart. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh once described this as the thunderous silence. He called it the roaring silence, a silence that is not passive or empty, but alive with the power to transform. It might sound like a paradox. How can silence roar? How can something so quiet have such force? But if you've ever truly tasted a moment of complete stillness, you know it's true. Within that stillness is an energy that can change you more deeply than any argument, any explanation, any speech ever could. Most of us live in a state of constant reaction. We wake up and immediately our senses are bombarded: messages, notifications, headlines, conversations. Our minds become like busy intersections at rush hour, noise going in every direction. Horns honking, engines revving, people yelling over each other. We think this is normal, maybe even necessary, but deep down we feel exhausted by it. We know we are losing ourselves in this endless traffic. When you choose silence, you step away from that intersection for a moment. You sit on the sidewalk and watch the traffic pass instead of running into it. You see how many thoughts are not necessary. How many words never really need to be spoken. How many worries were never as big as they pretended to be. Silence is the gentle but fierce refusal to feed the chaos. You don't push anything away violently, you simply stop adding fuel to the fire. One breath at a time, you choose to pause instead of react. To listen instead of argue. To rest instead of keep pushing. And slowly, the mind, which was like a wild animal pacing in a cage, begins to lie down, curl up, and sleep peacefully in your lap. What happens then is subtle but powerful. You start to hear what was always there, beneath the noise. You hear the soft voice of your own truth, an intuition that doesn't shout, but speaks calmly and clearly. You notice your body more fully, the rhythm of your breath, the quiet beat of your heart. The warmth of your hands resting on your knees. You realize how much wisdom lives inside you, waiting for you to stop long enough to listen. This thunderous silence is not about cutting yourself off from the world or becoming cold and distant. It is the opposite. It makes you more awake, more compassionate, more able to respond wisely instead of blindly reacting. When you practice silence, you see yourself more clearly, but you also see others more clearly. You see that behind everyone's words and actions is the same restless search for peace, the same fragile heart, the same wish to be free from suffering. In Buddhist practice, silence has always been more than the absence of speech, it is the presence of mindful awareness. In monasteries, monks and nuns observe noble silence not just to avoid distractions, but to protect the energy of mindfulness. Every word that is not spoken unnecessarily becomes an offering to peace. Every silence that is held becomes a bridge to deeper understanding. But you don't need to be a monk or nun to touch this kind of silence. You can find it anywhere, if you truly want to. It might be in the simple act of sitting by your window, watching the sunlight move across the floor. It might be in the few seconds before you answer a question, allowing your words to come from a place of calm rather than haste. It might be in a walk through your neighborhood without headphones, just listening to the sounds of birds, wind, and distant city life. At first, silence can feel uncomfortable. The mind wants to fill it with something: music, words, worries. But if you can sit through the discomfort, if you can hold your seat while the old habits tug at you to react, you will find a kind of spaciousness inside you that is far larger than any noise outside you. In that space, healing happens naturally. Resentments lose their sharp edges. Fears lose some of their bite. Your sense of self softens, becoming wider, kinder. Over time, you may find yourself speaking less but saying more when you do speak. You may find yourself listening more deeply when others talk, truly hearing not just the words but the longing or pain or joy underneath them. You may find yourself less easily pulled into arguments or gossip or the endless cycle of proving and defending. Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us that this silence is not passive. It is a force. It is the power to transform our suffering, the power to connect with what is real, the power to be fully alive in this moment. It is the space where you remember that you do not have to be at war with yourself or the world. When you practice this silence, you are not running away from life, you are entering it more fully, but with open eyes and a calm heart. And maybe, when the world feels too loud again, and it will, you can return to this roaring, thunderous silence. And let it remind you of who you truly are beneath all the noise, present, awake, alive, and completely enough just as you are. You don't have to climb a mountain or disappear into a distant forest to taste true silence. You don't need to shut yourself in a monastery for years or cut off every connection to the world. Real silence is not found in some faraway, unreachable place. It lives in the very heart of your everyday life, if only you have the courage and gentleness to let it in. Start small. Silence does not demand grand gestures. Try sitting for just 5 quiet minutes each morning before you look at your phone, before you open your laptop, before you let the voices of the world pour in. Sit down somewhere simple, a corner of your room, a spot by the window, your favorite chair. Feel the weight of your body on the seat. Feel the breath move in and out of your chest. Notice the hum of your thoughts, but don't chase them. Just sit. Just breathe. Just be. In those few minutes, you give yourself a gift that the world cannot give you. Permission to be here without needing to prove anything. The mind might rebel at first. It will whisper, you should check your messages. You should plan your day. You're wasting time. But if you stay, you will discover that these few silent moments can change the shape of your entire day. Your mind becomes clearer. Your heart feels lighter. You step into the noise of the world with a little more space inside you. Silence can also live in the smallest pauses throughout your day. Before you reply to someone, whether it's a friend, a colleague, a stranger, pause for just one mindful minute. Let your words come from a place that is settled, not scattered. In that single silent minute, you create room for wisdom to speak instead of your habits. Sometimes you'll find that what you thought you needed to say was not really needed at all. Sometimes you'll find better words, kinder, clearer, more honest. Silence is not the absence of words, it is the presence of clarity. Another simple practice, walk in silence. You don't need a meditation hall or a garden hidden behind temple walls. You can walk silently down the street, through a park, even in your own home. Leave your headphones behind. Let your steps be slow, steady, and conscious. Feel the ground beneath your feet. Feel your breath rising and falling as you move. Listen to the birds, the rustle of leaves, the distant sounds of people's lives. There is a secret teaching hidden here. When you walk in silence, the world becomes your teacher. Every step reminds you that you belong to this life, to this earth, to this breath. These tiny pockets of silence might seem insignificant, but if you keep them alive day after day, they begin to transform you from the inside out. Silence softens the sharp edges of your thoughts. It teaches your mind to rest instead of chase. It shows your heart how to open without fear. And you will begin to notice something subtle yet powerful. Silence does not push life away, it brings you closer to it. When you sit quietly, you start to see the ordinary miracles you usually overlook, the way sunlight creeps across the floor, the soft rhythm of your own breathing, the gentle warmth of your hands resting in your lap. When you pause before you speak, you notice the weight your words carry. You begin to choose them with care. When you walk in silence, you feel your feet touching the earth with gratitude instead of rushing past it. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to live in constant silence. You don't have to make it some strict rule. Just these small, quiet choices, 5 minutes here, one mindful breath there, are enough to remind you that there is a place inside you that noise cannot touch. A place that is not afraid, not grasping, not endlessly demanding more. Many people believe that peace is something we find after we finish everything else, after the work is done, after the house is quiet, after the problems are solved. But Buddhist wisdom invites us to see that peace is not the reward waiting at the end, it is the ground beneath your feet right now. Silence is the door that opens to that peace. When you make friends with silence, you become more intimate with life itself. You see that silence is not a void, it is a bridge. A bridge that connects you to your own breath, to the beating of your heart, to the people around you, and even to the parts of yourself that you usually hide from. In that spacious quiet, healing happens. Understanding grows. Compassion deepens. So begin where you are. A few minutes of silent sitting. A single quiet breath before you speak. A simple silent walk. These are not heroic acts. They are gentle promises you make to yourself. I will not lose myself in the noise. I will remember the stillness inside me. And with each silent moment, you return, not to some distant mountain peak, but to the true home you carry with you always. The calm, awake, and unshakable silence of your own heart. When the mind is truly calm and quiet, we gain the precious ability to listen to others with our whole heart. It is a kind of listening that does not exist to argue back, to defend ourselves, or to wait for our turn to speak. This listening does not rush to judge what is right or wrong, who is good or bad. Instead, it opens up a space where we can truly hear not just someone's words, but the hidden pain, fear, or struggle that often lies beneath them. Someone who is suffering deeply may not always say exactly what they feel. Pain often hides behind harsh words, sharp tones, or reactions that push people away. If our own mind is noisy and restless, full of opinions, assumptions, and old wounds, we only hear the surface. We react from our habits, not our understanding. But when the mind is quiet, like a clear, still lake, we can see all the way to the bottom, we can touch the root of what is really being shared. In that moment, we understand. The person in front of us is not attacking us, they are revealing something wounded inside themselves. This understanding changes everything. Instead of throwing more hurt back at them, we might simply stay silent and listen a little longer. Or we might choose to speak a few gentle words, words that do not blame or judge, but help soothe the pain. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh once said, "Listening with compassion is a priceless gift. It costs nothing, it needs no fancy words, yet it can save a relationship, heal a broken heart, and calm a troubled mind." And the foundation of this gift is the silence inside the listener. A person with a quiet mind does not quickly stick labels on other people. They don't rush to conclusions or cling tightly to who is right or wrong. They know that everyone carries hidden stories, long histories, old wounds, secrets they may never speak aloud. Some pains are so tender that a person can only reveal them when they feel safe. And some burdens, if there is no one willing to listen, remain buried and grow into anger or bitterness. So silence in Buddhism is not about avoiding people or refusing to speak the truth. Silence is the ground on which understanding and compassion grow strong. When our mind is quiet, we don't get swept away by anger or pride. We gain the time to look more deeply and ask ourselves, why are they saying this? What is really happening in their heart? Sometimes, just a nod, a calm gaze, or an attentive silence is enough to help someone feel seen. They sense, I am being heard. I am not alone. Maybe, for the first time in years. They feel safe enough to share their true story, the one buried under all the noise and fear. The one who listens with true silence does not just help the other person, they help themselves. Because when our mind is calm, hurtful words don't easily stick to us. We don't get tangled in every insult or harsh tone. We don't take it so personally. Because we see that behind every sharp word is a person struggling with pain or confusion. When we don't let ourselves be hurt, we also don't feel the need to hurt back. The chain of suffering is broken. A seed of compassion is planted instead. In Buddhist teachings, the Buddha often spoke about right speech and right thought. Every word we speak is born first from a thought. If the mind is calm and clear, our thoughts are wise and kind. If our thoughts are clear, our words naturally become gentle and helpful. But when the mind is chaotic, our thoughts are often confused, and our words easily become weapons that wound us and others. You can practice this in the simplest moments of daily life. When someone makes you upset, pause before you react. Take one breath. Ask yourself, is what I'm about to say really necessary? Will it help this situation or just make it worse? Just a few seconds of silence can change everything, transforming you from someone who reacts blindly into someone who responds with awareness. Silence does not make you weak. In truth, only someone with true inner strength can stay silent in the middle of chaos. When your mind is steady, you are not carried away by anger, fear, or pride. You become an island of calm that others naturally trust and want to come back to. And you yourself have a place to return to, a quiet center that protects your understanding and your compassion. Each day, give yourself a chance to practice this living silence. 5 quiet minutes with a cup of tea. 1 calm breath before you answer someone. A few moments of silence just to hear the wind. The birds, your own heartbeat. These small pauses, when practiced with care, become the foundation for a peaceful life, one where every word and action grows out of understanding and love. There's a simple story often shared among those who practice Zen, a gentle but profound reminder of what true silence really means. One day, a visitor climbed a mountain to see a Zen master who had been living and practicing in quiet solitude for over 30 years. With deep respect and curiosity, the visitor asked, "Master, what have you learned after 30 years of meditation and silence in these mountains?" The master looked at him with kind, steady eyes, smiled softly, and answered, "I have learned to cherish silence." To someone rushing through life, this answer might sound disappointing. 30 years of devoted practice, just to discover silence. But for anyone who has truly sat with their own mind, who has faced their own storms and shadows in the dark hours of the night, this simple reply holds a vast ocean of truth. Silence here does not mean just keeping the mouth closed. It is not about blocking out every sound or hiding away from the world. The silence this master speaks of is the silence of the mind. It is the ability to stop the constant noise that hums beneath every waking moment, the thoughts that spin endlessly, the worries that gnaw at our hearts, the cravings that keep us restless. It is the kind of silence where you can sit in the middle of the world's noise and still remain unmoved, undisturbed inside. In that small, gentle smile of the master lies a deep, unshakable peace, something so many people spend their entire lives searching for in all the wrong places. In our modern world, we have countless ways to stay connected with others. Yet we feel more disconnected from ourselves than ever. We can speak with someone halfway across the globe in seconds, but find it so hard to have an honest conversation with our own hearts. We fear silence, because when the outer noise fades, what comes up are the things we've buried, our loneliness, regrets, old questions that still have no answers. But when you learn to cherish silence, you see that it's not an empty void to fear, it's a gentle, living space where all the noise can finally settle, where old wounds can breathe and heal. Those who truly understand silence do not stop speaking because they have nothing to say, but because they know some things lose their power when we keep talking. They know that some storms pass more quickly if we simply sit with them instead of fueling them with more words. This master spent 3 decades sitting with himself, watching his mind's storms, witnessing every fear and desire without running away. Slowly, over years of practice, he came to see that beneath every wave of noise is a vast, clear space of stillness. That stillness was always there, waiting, he just needed to stop long enough to return to it. Many people, when they hear this story, might wonder, do I have to leave everything behind? Climb a mountain for 30 years, just to find this peace? But the beauty of true silence is that you don't need to run away to find it. It can be nurtured right where you are, sitting on your couch in the early morning, putting your phone down for a few minutes, listening to the wind through the trees, hearing your own heartbeat. Each moment you choose to pause, to hold back your words, to listen instead of react, you step a little closer to that same silence the Master smiled about. Each time you breathe instead of argue, stay quiet instead of prove yourself right, you plant the seeds of peace. Each time you let silence hold your anger instead of your tongue sharpening into a weapon, you free yourself from yet another invisible burden. The greatest teachers are not people who never speak, they are people who know when to speak and when to be silent. They speak few words, but every word comes from a place of deep understanding. And often, their silence itself is the most powerful teaching. It shows us the strength of letting go, the quiet beauty of compassion, and the freedom that arises when we stop trying to control every moment. In this busy life, you too can learn to cherish silence, even for just a few minutes each day. At first, it may feel awkward or even unsettling. But be patient with yourself. You will begin to see that silence is not empty at all, it is full of life, insight, and love. One day, perhaps years from now, someone may look at you, someone who knows how busy and complicated life can be, and ask, "What have you learned after all this time?" And maybe, with a soft smile, you'll find yourself answering simply, "I have learned to cherish silence." And in that smile, in those few words, there will be all the peace that so many have spent a lifetime searching for, waiting for you, right here, in the quiet of your own breath. You don't have to go anywhere far away. You don't need to leave your family, abandon your work, or disappear into the mountains to find true silence. Real silence, the kind that heals, nourishes, and awakens you, is not hidden in some remote place. It is waiting for you here and now, in the most ordinary moment, as close as your next breath. Right now, as you breathe in, you can touch silence. It doesn't matter if you're sitting at your desk, standing in a crowded street, or lying awake at night listening to the world outside your window. Your breath is always there, a quiet doorway you can step through, back into the stillness you carry within you. Right now, in this very moment, you can pause. You can drop the burden you're carrying for just a heartbeat of time. You can feel your feet on the ground, your chest rising and falling, the simple miracle of being alive. And maybe you can let a small, gentle smile appear, one that says to yourself, "I am here. I am enough. I am home." Many people misunderstand silence. They think it means running away, turning your back on life, ignoring problems, avoiding your responsibilities. But true silence is not an escape. It's not a prison where you shut out the world. It's not a wall that separates you from others. Silence, in the deepest sense, is a homecoming. It is you returning to yourself, whole, unhurried, unbroken. In Buddhism, silence is not about rejecting sound. It's about listening deeply, to everything, including your own heart. It's about seeing through the noise, the constant commentary of the mind, the endless shoulds and shouldn'ts, and finding the vast, open space that has always been there, quietly holding you. Every day, we spend so much energy trying to be someone, trying to prove, to defend, to explain, to impress. We speak so many words that often do not bring us closer to the truth of who we really are. But when you choose silence, even for a moment, you lay all that effort down. You discover that you do not have to become anything to be whole. You do not have to fix every flaw to be worthy of rest. To be silent is to remember, I am not just my thoughts. I am not just my struggles. I am not just my name or my story. Beneath all the noise, there is a quiet, steady presence. This presence is you, unhurried, spacious, and free. Some people spend years chasing peace in faraway places. They climb mountains, sit in temples, search for wise teachers. These journeys can be beautiful and meaningful. But the greatest teacher is the one already inside you. The quiet voice that says, stop for a moment. Breathe. Listen. Come home. You can practice this homecoming in small, gentle ways. You can pause before you speak, feeling whether your words come from tension or calm. You can listen without planning your reply. You can take a slow walk without needing music or distraction, just you, your footsteps, your breath. You can drink a cup of tea in silence, feeling the warmth, tasting each sip fully. Each small act of returning to silence is like a drop of water feeding a seed. At first, the seed seems invisible, buried beneath layers of habit and noise. But with each breath, each pause, each moment of mindful quiet, it sprouts roots. One day, without forcing, you realize the silence is no longer something you have to chase. It has become part of you, steady, familiar. Always ready to hold you when life feels too loud. When you learn to rest in this silence, you discover you can face the world with a stronger heart. You can listen more deeply to the pain and joy of others without drowning in their suffering. You can speak fewer words, but with more love and truth. You can stand in the middle of life's storms without being blown away. Silence does not make you cold or distant. It makes you clear. It reminds you that your worth does not depend on constant doing or explaining. It reminds you that sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer, both to yourself and to others, is not more words, but the spaciousness of your presence. So if today feels heavy, if the noise of the world feels too much, remember, you don't have to run anywhere. You don't have to wait for the perfect place or the perfect time. Right now, with one conscious breath, you can touch the stillness that has never left you. Right now, with one soft smile, you can remember that silence is not a hiding place, it is a doorway back to the freedom and wholeness that have been yours all along. If you feel that today's video has touched something quiet and deep inside you, maybe a longing for rest, a glimpse of stillness you'd forgotten, or just one mindful breath you haven't truly noticed for a long time, then perhaps this is a gentle sign. A sign that it's time to pause, even for a moment, and come home to take care of your own heart. We don't all have the chance to leave the city, climb a mountain, or spend months in a quiet monastery. But the truth is, stillness is never as far away as we think. It hides in the simplest, everyday moments we often overlook, an early morning before the streets wake up, a late afternoon breeze slipping through your window, or a few quiet minutes sitting with a warm cup of tea, listening to the soft rustle of leaves outside. When you click subscribe to the Dharma Journey, I hope it's not just another button you press to get a new video. I hope it becomes a gentle reminder for you, each time you listen to a reflection, a Buddhist teaching, or a simple story. You're giving yourself permission to slow down, to soften your heart, and to let your busy mind rest for a while. You might be busy, we all are. Work, family, worries, and plans can feel like waves that never stop coming. But please believe this, even in the middle of all that busyness, you can still find silence for yourself. It might look like walking a bit slower down the same street, turning off your phone for a few minutes before bed to breathe quietly in the dark, or simply looking into a loved one's eyes and truly listening, without rushing to answer. Silence is not a cold wall that shuts you away from life, it's a garden where everything true can grow. In that garden, understanding blooms, kindness softens the hard edges, forgiveness finds its way back in. Anger has fewer thorns, worries shrink down, and the precious seeds of gratitude and peace have space to take root. I would truly love to hear your story. Where do you find your own moments of silence in this busy life? Is it when you sit on your balcony and watch the rain fall? When you cook a meal and let your mind rest in the warmth of simple tasks? When you close your eyes for a few seconds in the middle of a hectic workday just to breathe? Everyone has their own secret corner of stillness. And who knows, by sharing yours, you might remind someone else that they, too, can find it. Please feel free to share in the comments below. Maybe, just by writing it down, you'll remember that these quiet moments have always been with you, you only need to pause and honor them. May today, no matter how much is waiting for you, hold at least one small island of silence, a few breaths to come home to yourself, to feel your heart beating, and to sense that gentle part of you smiling from within. Wishing you a calm, loving day, filled with small, precious pauses, little gifts you give to yourself, over and over again.